If I've said it once, I've said it 1,000 times. The minivan is the perfect choice for a family. No, it's not going to fit your style needs perfectly every time, but it's hard to prioritize that as a parent. And I'm a dad, you're a mom. Do you love a road trip?
I love a road trip.
We love a road trip, and we love a minivan. So join me and my family as we test out the space, the drive, and the looks of this new 2027 Chrysler Pacifica as we explore New England. All right, we have made it to Stow, Vermont, and I want to kick off the video by talking about what I think is the single biggest reason to get a minivan, and that's the cargo space. Now, I know that's not the most sexy topic to kick off with, but stick with me and you might change your mind. I'm also going to talk about the single best reason to recommend the Pacifica in particular to anyone. Now, it doesn't have the most cargo volume. It actually has the least amount of space behind the third row of any of the big four minivans at 32.3 cubic feet. But the magic with any minivan is how it utilizes the depth behind that third row. There's this almost bathtub-shaped space behind the third rows that an SUV can only dream of. This will take strollers, luggage, coolers, and whatever else you can think of. And you may never need to put down this third row at all. Now for the second ace up a minivan sleeve, these sliding side doors. In a crowded parking lot, these are unbeatable. If you know, you know. I won't linger too long on these, but I will talk about these seats. We've got a captain's chair set up in here for 7 total seats. So sitting behind myself at 5'11", I've got all the legroom I need in the middle row. But if I get up and kind of shimmy into the third row, that was graceful. And I still have tons of legroom. Add to that this big rear window, this cup holder, USB ports, and I don't feel claustrophobic at all. All of that, we still have all this ample cargo space holding all of the gear for our road trip. Are you starting to see the magic of the minivan? But the real magic with the Pacifica lies in the stow and go seats, the Pacifica's party trick. So what it lacks in raw numbers, it makes up for with functionality. In the Carnival and the Odyssey, both of which having larger max cargo volumes than this, you have to physically remove these middle seats and store them somewhere. And the Sienna, lagging far behind in 4th place with a max cargo of 101 cubic feet, you can't remove these middle seats at all. This Pacifica maxes out at just over 140 cubic feet, but no van can get to their max number easier and faster than the Pacifica. So if you need to use the full volume of your van and switch back and forth between max cargo and seats, well, you found your answer. There's no other option for you. This is your van. Keep watching the video though, but this is the one for you. Quick note, if you opt for the top pinnacle trim, you do lose the stow and go seating in the second row. That's a big trade-off. I've got to get these seats back in place, but tomorrow we're going to be driving an incredible road in Vermont, testing out the powertrain of this 2027 Pacifica. But for now, I've got to get these kids out and exploring Stow. All right, it's a new day, so I've got a new look. Today, we're actually getting on the road and talking about driving the Chrysler Pacifica. And to do that, I've come out to one of the best roads in Vermont. This is Smuggler's Notch Scenic Highway, and there are a ton of twists and turns on this mountain road to actually test out the minivan in its proper environment, right? You might be surprised though, minivans are actually pretty well handling vehicles. Their center of gravity is low with a pretty wide base. So the handling in these corners is actually really smooth, really well controlled. The power delivery is smooth, it's refined from this V6 engine. So let's talk about the V6. This features the ubiquitous and unchanged 3.6 liter Pentastar V6 engine. It's paired to a 9-speed automatic transmission, so no CVTs here, and it produces 287 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. And this engine is tried and true. Front-wheel drive is standard, and it's actually what I'm driving on this limited trim today. And all-wheel drive is an option available on all trims except the new base LX trim. You can just call that the Voyager since they discontinued that model and basically folded that trim into the Pacifica lineup. And we'll talk more about that later. But all-wheel drive, if you get it, is available for $2,995. We'll call that $3,000. But the big news for 2027 is not what's new, it's actually what has gone away. No longer can you get a plug-in hybrid Pacifica on any trim. That is a new change for 2027. So goodbye plug-in hybrid. I think that's due to Stellantis's broader walkback of their electrification strategy, But maybe the bigger culprit is the fact that we no longer have a federal tax incentive for electrified vehicles, and it just became a lot more expensive to buy a plug-in Pacifica. So like anything with a new car purchase, you're going to have to make a choice between the authentic grunt of something like this V6 or something that is more fuel efficient and more economical for your wallet after the purchase. And the minivan segment offers some pretty clear distinctions as to which path you want to go down. So the EPA says that in front-wheel drive, you should expect to see 22 miles per gallon, and that number drops to 20 for the all-wheel drive variant. And I know it's not fair. I've been going up and down this mountain road for a little bit now, but I'm seeing 15.5 miles per gallon. Yesterday, when I was driving this on the highway on more normal roads, average driving, I was seeing about 20. So that is a little bit lower than the 22 that's advertised, but much better than what I'm seeing now. However, I do know that when I get home to Boston with our notorious traffic and my trafficy commute, I do expect to see about 15 miles per gallon. That's just what I've seen in V6s of the past. It kind of is what it is. And that leads to what I think is the biggest decision in vehicles today, especially in vans, because there are so few vans, the differences in their powertrain just become so much more obvious. So on one side, you have the fuel efficiency minded options like the Toyota Sienna with its standard hybrid engine and the Kia Carnival hybrid, which does give you an option in powertrain. And on the other side, you have the Honda Odyssey, the gas-only Carnival, and this Chrysler Pacifica. They are all gas-only V6s, and they do inspire more confidence and offer a more refined drive, there's no doubt, but those fuel economy losses compared to the efficient ones can be tough to accept in today's, let's call it, unpredictable market with fluctuating gas prices. So that's something that only you can answer and what your needs require. So let's pull over and talk about the other big change, maybe the biggest change for 2027, and that is the exterior. Now here is the biggest visual change for 2027, and it's this front end. Now, I normally really like a wild lighting signature, but this one I haven't quite warmed up to yet. It feels cheapened compared to Chryslers of the past, or even Chryslers of last year. So the winged logo is gone, or at least updated, and I think a lot of the classiness has gone with it. I really don't actually mind the look of the logo itself. I think it looks really sharp when paired with the Chrysler wordmark. It looks sufficiently modern, but the fact that it's lit and all the lines and sharp angles kind of make it feel like a step down to me. The previous Pacifica was arguably the best looking van in my opinion, so I don't know if this new updated aggressive front end fits with what I think of as the Pacifica, which is an upscale family hauler. That being said, this is the new look going forward. Chrysler celebrated their 100th birthday last year, and they got a new look to go along with it. Up till now, we've only seen this logo on concept vehicles. This is the first time we're seeing in real life on the road this logo. So tell me, what do you think? Are you in love with it, or are you a little bit cooler on it like I am? Interestingly enough though, not every 2027 Pacifica is getting this look. The LX, a new base trim which essentially replaces the Voyager for 2027, is sporting the older Chrysler logo and a more reserved front end, and I think it has a cleaner, more refined appeal. Although you do get downgraded headlights and miss out on many features of the upper trims like all-wheel drive availability. Now the side profile hasn't changed. This is a van. It's not trying to hide that it's a van, and I think it does a great job looking like a great van. That being said, I am a minivan guy, so take that for what it's worth. But the overall body was never going to change. This is still just a refresh, so it's still over 200 inches long, 17 feet. But what is new, these wheels feature a contrasting dark gray and silver look that works for me. It's not too crazy, but it's interesting enough. And around the back, I really like what I see. I think this is the Pacifica's best angle. And the only noticeable difference from last year's model is that new logo. And it does work for me here, probably because it's not surrounded by all those aggressive, sharp, angled lines as in the DRLs up front. Back here, it can just be its minimalist, modern self, and it looks great. We have this one long light bar spanning the back, and I think it looks really refined and clean. I think from this angle, the Pacifica looks awesome. So that's it for today. Tomorrow we're heading into New Hampshire and then Maine, and we're going to talk interior and tech. All right, day 3, let's check in. The family has rejoined. We are on the road. We're heading through New Hampshire to go to Mount Washington, which is the highest peak in the northeastern US, and we're going to see how the Pacifica does climbing a literal mountain. All right, we've made it to the top, but check out this view. Inside, we've got a fairly refined experience, but this is gonna look pretty familiar. It didn't see many updates from the refresh. This is largely the same interior from last year. The seats are comfortable with individual armrests and clean white piping outlining everything. Very notably, these seats have driver's seat memory on all trims except the base. So if two parents are pretty different heights like my wife and I, we are covered on most trims, which is great. Now, everything your hands or your knees are going to touch is covered in a decently squishy leatherette or this almost like sponge-like material. And there's a lot of piano black plastic up here, which is never my first choice. It looks nice now, it's nice and shiny, but it will pick up smudges and dust over time. And there's actually a fair bit of dust already after 2 or 3 days in this car. So there's the proof. I usually prefer there to be more of a textured or a matte surface like we actually have up here around the driver display and in the door card. It just keeps things looking tidier for longer. Heard a little daughter back there. I love that this climate area up here is an array of physical buttons. It's not the cleanest layout I've ever seen, but it is really easy to adjust to. Heated seats are standard and ventilated seats join the standard party at the limited trim, which I love. I do use those features fairly often, and they are now in the touchscreen. I do wish there was a button here that just got me to those quicker, but maybe that's a little bit of a nitpick. There is anchored climate and seating controls on the screen. They're always there, so they are really easy to access. For our storage space considerations, I'm pretty happy with what we have here. Up here in the main area, we have a ventilated wireless charging pad for your phone, and next to that, we have a pretty secure area for your wallet or keys with 2 USB-C ports up here. There's also an almost platform area for like a more hidden storage space, which is nice. We have side-by-side cup holders. They've fit everything that we've needed so far. Behind that, we have this center console area with a closing door, which is really convenient. It's not very deep, but that's because there is a secondary area underneath it and behind for the middle row for their cup holders and an extra cubby storage space there. Underneath all of that, we do have a pass-through underneath the whole tunnel for your purse or your bigger bags, whatever you might need. And in the doors, we have a 3-tiered setup here. We obviously have cup holders in the bottom. We have a middle little section here, and then a place for your hand that is enclosed. So you have 3 levels of storage there. Space for everything that we've needed so far. The instrument cluster up here does feel a little bit old school. We have fully analog tachometer and speedometer with a medium-sized screen in the middle for your trip computer, things like that. So if you love that analog feel, then this is going to be perfect for you. That being said, fully digital driver displays have come a long way, allowing for a lot more customization, full screen maps, things like that. So this does feel a little bit aged for a 2027 vehicle. For our main screen, we've got a 10.1-inch touchscreen running the current Uconnect 5 operating system, and that's the same on all trims. I do have wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a good thing because the built-in navigation is, let's call it, a little bit basic. And I'm never a fan of when a screen is too big. I think this 10-inch screen is actually a perfect size. It's well integrated into the dash. It's bright, it's crisp, it responds quickly. So if there's nothing broken, there's nothing to fix. So I've got no issues here. Lastly, there are 2 features I want to talk about that really bridge the gap into talking about safety. First is the blind spot camera system. We're used to seeing something like this in upper trim Kias and Hyundais, but we are seeing them more and more throughout the industry. And simply put, when we're using our turn signal, a view of that side takes over the middle screen, so we don't have a blind spot anymore. The one issue is that it does take over the full screen. So if you're in a quick turn situation and you need navigation, you kind of have to plan a turn or 2 ahead to know where you're going. Secondly is the front parking sensor, and it is what it sounds like it is. As you're pulling into a parking spot, getting close to something in front of you, the front camera pops up, takes over the screen, and it's just a really useful feature to have in a car this big. Now on the full safety front, there are a lot of standard features, which is great for a family vehicle like this. I'm just gonna put them up on screen instead of reciting them for you, but I will note the 2026 Chrysler Pacifica received a 5-star crash rating from the NHTSA. We're in the final leg of the trip. We made it to our perfect little log cabin in Maine, and it's time to talk pricing. Now, here's the truth. Vans are not a value proposition anymore. Chrysler did lower the prices almost across the board slightly on all trims, and they also did introduce that new base LX trim for 2027. I do think you've got to step up at least to the Select trim to get what most people are probably looking for and to get that fancy new logo on the 27 Pacifica. That starts at just over $45,000, including the almost $2,000 destination fee. Remember, all-wheel drive also becomes an option at that trim level, and that's just about $3,000 across the board. We have been in a limited trim. That's the third of 4. The Pinnacle is just above, and we do have the Safety Sphere upgrade, which gives us those nice turn signal cameras in the blind spot. Our final as-tested price, including destination, is $50,385. So if you want that V6 grunt, your options are this Chrysler Pacifica, the Honda Odyssey, or the gas Kia Carnival. However, if you also want all-wheel drive with your V6, well, you don't have many options. There's one, and it's this. The other ones don't offer all-wheel drive. If you need to do better on your fuel economy, well, that takes you to the Toyota Sienna or the hybrid Kia Carnival. Similarly, though, only one of those offers all-wheel drive. So if you want a hybrid with all-wheel drive, well, the Sienna is your van. So a quick recap. This Chrysler Pacifica, V6 only, all-wheel drive optional. The Honda Odyssey is V6 only, front-wheel drive only. The Kia Carnival can be either a V6 or a hybrid 4, but it's front-wheel drive only, and the Toyota Sienna is only a hybrid 4, all-wheel drive optional. So I go through all of that because I think for most people, the choice will come down to all-wheel drive availability and fuel economy. I think those are the two biggest forks in people's decision tree. So if you don't want or need a hybrid, well, I think this Chrysler Pacifica is a fantastic choice, and you get to choose if you want all-wheel drive or not. The style is working for me everywhere except the front. I want the front to be tamed down just a little bit, but the interior, the stow and go seating, the ample legroom in the third row, and I think this is an absolute winner in the game. So are you ready to take the parenthood leap into minivan life, or do you value style over practicality, which is fine if you do? If you are ready to take the leap, which minivan is calling your name? On the Driveway podcast, we dedicated an entire episode to the majestic minivan, so go check that out to dive even deeper into this world. And with that, I will thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.